There's not much of a story here, but I feel compelled to type this anyway. I was looking around on YouTube to see if the AVGN, the Angry Video Game Nerd, like I should have mentioned to avoid confusion, had made any new episodes. The only one was on the James Nintendo Nerd channel was Ghost and Goblins. For whatever reason, he's been releasing brand new ones on YouTube as opposed to usually releasing them on game trailers. So I watched it, and it was the same kind of funny madness you'd expect to see in a nerd episode. Not perfect, but considering that he was working on the Monster Madness and putting it all together for footage of the AVGN movie trailer, and doing other numerous projects, I'm not complaining. I was just happy to see a new nerd episode again. I was going to comment on one of the videos when I saw a person's username entitled James N Nintendo Nerd. I'm guessing the double N there since its original name was taken. The comment read E.T., and that was all. So I clicked on the name out of curiosity, and it took me to a channel much like James's. There was only one video entitled AVGN ET Atari 2600. The video had 0 views and had been uploaded today. I watched it just to be the first viewer. I really wish I hadn't done that. What happened next made me regret ever watching the Angry Video Game Nerd. First off, there wasn't any kind of theme song whatsoever. The video just started showing James looking at the camera sadly. "You all asked for it," he said with a frown. Not the traditional frown, just a depressed one. "You sick pieces of filth," he continued again with the frown. I was shocked to hear him say that to his audience, and not in a funny way. James then pulled out an ET cart from its box. The camera then cut to him putting the game into the Atari, the only kind of editing I saw remotely in this episode. The episode started without him even turning the system on, and started to play. As he was playing, I swore I could hear a slight sobbing in the background. It was like he hated the game on a very personal level. For a split second, his picture flashed on my computer screen. It was a nerd bent over crying. I quickly pushed print screen. I still have the picture, and I'll show it when I post this. Anyway, James only played the game for about a minute before turning the camera towards him. He had tears in his eyes. Not like he was bawling, but enough that you'd notice it on his face. He held up the camera and began walking around the game room like it was if you were in an episode of Cops. He then found a hammer, like in his Nintendo World Championship episode, and started to destroy every single one of his games and systems, all while quietly singing his theme song. After painfully watching him do this, just thinking of all the money he had wasted, he went over to his NES that he had taken, that he had since he was a child, and broke it into pieces. I was almost about to leave the page when I saw him pick up a gun. It was a real gun and not a zapper or anything else. He cocked it, put it to his head, turned to the camera towards him and whispered, "I'm done with this shit," and shot himself. Both James and the camera fell to the ground, and that's where the video ended. I was shocked at what I had seen, and I quickly left the channel and went back to the Ghost and Goblins review to try and forget about the whole event. I looked at the comments section about 10 minutes later to find that the video was gone. I even checked James' and Nintendo Nerd username, but the entire account had been terminated. So I didn't understand why said person had uploaded it, only to be taken down his or her account all of a sudden. But now I know why James has never done an ET review. And maybe it might be for the best that he never does. And that, my little shadows, was AVGN ET Atari 2600, a Angry Video Game Nerd Lost episode Creepypasta. My final thoughts on the story? Alright. I'm really debating whether or not if I've actually sat there and did a review of this or not. I mean, I'm looking it up right now, just as we speak, and just to make sure of it. Yeah. Honestly, okay. This Creepypasta. I remember reading this back when I was a lot younger. I actually thought of this as being an actually pretty decent Creepypasta. For the time being, that is. Now, in regards to this entire thing, this entire Creepypasta and everything, well, I certainly can say that this definitely brought me back, down memory lane. I can't deny the fact that this story isn't cliched. It is very much cliched, actually. And I have a lot of reasons as to why I believe that to be the case. Let's start off with the fact of the matter that the story itself, I mean, while it doesn't exactly have hyperrealism, blood or gore, things like that, it just basically, I don't know, actually. I mean, maybe it's because of the fact that it just doesn't seem very well put together. I guess. Maybe that might be, I don't know. And the whole thing about finding this episode, on another YouTube channel with almost the same name, I mean, that's not a very common cliche, thank God, but this is something I can certainly say is, was rather common, I think, way back then. Now, in this manner, the rest of the episode actually played out pretty good. I mean, I liked it. Now, of course, I know for a full-on fact that James would never, ever sit there and do something like that. And if he did, it'd be for a prank. And this one, though, it is interesting. Especially knowing the fact that he's already reviewed the game already. But let's actually go back more or less about the time that he didn't sit there and, do this. Try and think about it just a little bit. AVGN has always pretty much had a deep disdain for, that game. And every single episode that he's done on YouTube, up until the point where he started doing that game, he would never do it. Which is kind of a surprise, but, had this been before his, I don't know what to say. Basically, what I am trying to say is this. It's understandable why exactly James wouldn't want to play the game beforehand. It's a shit game. It's a garbage game. I wouldn't even play it. I don't ever want to play that. And I'm not crazy about video games either. But in this manner, though, despite it being rather cliche, it is an interesting and rather entertaining story. I'm gonna pretty much leave it like that. It's an entertaining story that I genuinely believe, while it's not particularly perfect and certainly has not aged too well, it's still a relatively decent creepypasta. Not perfect, but at the same time pretty good. But like I always say, my little shadows, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with it, that's perfectly fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be a 5 out of 10. It's a relatively, nice little trip down memory lane. It's an interesting concept, a very fun little story, and I actually really enjoyed it for the most part. However, though, that's not to say that the story itself was completely perfect. In fact, I would even go so far to say that it really didn't do a good job on that one, especially with some of the cliches that were in it. But for it being what it is, it's a classic to me. I liked it, and honestly, I hope you guys enjoyed it too. But with that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you guys enjoy it? Did you guys not? Also, what would you have personally done to help make this story a lot better? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section below. I'm the Shadow Reader. Thanks again for watching today's episode. And if you're brand new here to this channel, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. And of course, like always, roll the outro because I'm out.
In fear and surprise as your eyes widen, your mouth goes dry with each battered breath. You try to scream, your mind begs to leave, glued to your computer screen. The killers they slash, the tapes burn and crash. The cartridge you bought will be your final haunt. The rituals of hate will seal your fate. The tears you shed will be from the fear-gripping horde-driven nightmarish gore filled, terrorizing, hateful, burning, violent, rage-inducing, knife-slashing, blood-splattering, silent screams dreams. Only time will tell if you will escape this online hell. Your horror-filled obsessions will come with its own regressions. Your pathetic screams will not be heeded in any way, because your nightmares will come at any day.